Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to another episode of GEEXX Reads. Um, I'm not quite sure about this setup. I may have to switch it around a little bit since I've rearranged the furniture. I may have to move over there. But for now, I want to talk about Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, an image of which you will see here. I don't have it on my cover. I tore a piece off it somehow. Anywho, as I talk about this, I'm going to have to look at the novel a bit because I'm not sure the pronunciation of some of the names, so I'm going to have to keep glancing down here at the book to make sure I'm somewhat pronouncing them correctly. Anywho, Elantris, the novel, is about the city of Elantris, which is a city in the kingdom of Erelon. It is a magical city. The people who live there are these beautiful, magical, immortal people that are almost like gods. They have massive magical powers, never get sick, never grow old. Until, and before I do that, and anyone can become an Elantrin. The people of the city of the kingdom of Erelon, occasionally someone will just wake up and be transformed into one of these Elantrin demigods. And then they go and live in the magical city and be beautiful and happy for the rest of eternity. Until about 10 years ago, something happened. All the Elantrins became sickly. Their skin was covered in like dark patches. Their hair would fall out. The magic no longer worked. The city no longer shined. There was no more magic left. It was that the magic had suddenly abandoned everything. And people still underwent the transformation, but instead of becoming magical Elantrins, they became these like husks of people who were then banished to the city of Elantris. The gates were closed, it was locked up, people were no longer allowed to enter or leave, except people who were banished there when they became Elantrins. They still didn't die, but their bodies no longer healed. So if you stubbed your toe or had a paper cut or broke an arm, it would stay that way and would never heal. And it eventually drove the citizens of Elantris mad. This constant buildup of minor and major injuries. They're virtually impossible to kill. Can be killed, but very, very, they're basically The Walking Dead. And you kill them by beheading them or burning them to ash. Anyhow, in the first chapter, Raoden, prince of the kingdom of Erelon, wakes up and discovers he's become an Elantrin and is banished to the city. The story is told from his viewpoint, the viewpoint of Princess Serene, from a neighboring kingdom who was in a political arranged marriage. She is actually traveling to the city to be married to him when he, and the king, to hide his shame, pretends that his son died suddenly, in the night, and doesn't want to admit that his son became one of the Elantrins. So when she arrives, she discovers that the marriage ceremony is considered concluded. Part of the marriage contract was that if one of them had died, to keep the political arrangement, keep the political alliance, the marriage was considered valid, even though the marriage ceremony never happened. So she's stuck here with her in-laws in this bizarre political situation. And then there is Harathan, who's from a different area. He's a priest of, forgive me again, Fjordell, High Priest of Fjordell. He is there to convert the Erelons, the people of Erelon, to his religion or kill them. It is basically conquering them through conversion of religion. The city is told from these three distinct viewpoints. I really like all these characters. They don't really interact all that much. They eventually do, but Harathan and Serene, because they're both outside the city, do interact a little bit, but and a bit more as the story progresses. But Raoden is banished to the city, and he's actually a good person. I know that sounds surprising. I say that with no surprise, But I mean, he was raised to be the king, and he was, he's the prince, and he actually cares about his people. And he realizes that the people of Elantris are still his people. They're even more his people now that he's become one of them. And these people are in this, he's stuck here, and these people are just miserable. They're wallowing in their own misery. They have no hope. There are just roving gangs of people who still have their sanity, who are trying to like hoard resources, and they don't need to eat, but they still suffer hunger pangs if they don't. So they try and find food. There's no food given to the city. These people are just left on their own to suffer. And he has to adapt to his new condition. And being a good person, he wants to help the people that he sees suffering. Princess Serene is also a good person, stuck in an arranged political marriage. She's trying to make the best of her situation. And Harathan just starts to serve as just kind of a dick. He really is. But he does have a moral code. I think it's a bit of a twisted moral code, but he does have one. He honestly thinks he's going to help these people either by converting them or killing them. He really is kind of a self-righteous monster, but he's still an interesting character. There are main viewpoints. Some of the other people aren't quite so nice. There's a lot of selfish, the gangs of Elantris, the people that Raiden is trying to save, and they're all miserable and self-centered and wallowing in their own self-pity and misery. The people that Serena are dealing with are petty nobles who are, again, selfish and more concerned about their own interests than helping anybody else. And I just really liked all the character interactions. This is also Brandon Sanderson's debut novel. This is his first book. I reviewed The Way of Kings before, because that was the first original book of his I've read. He helped finish out the Wheel of Time series after Robert Jordan passed away. So I'd read his work before, but he wrote that off of notes that Jordan left. That wasn't his work specifically. It was just his interpretation of the author's notes. This is his first debut novel. And for a debut novel, this is really solid. It really is. This is also part of Sanderson's Cosmere. His various novels, this, Way of Kings, the Mistborn trilogy, Mistborn books, Warbreaker, I think is it. Yeah, whatever, White Sand. His various works are all connected in a single universe, even though they're all in different worlds and have very different magic systems. If you read all the books, he does tie it together. He does explain why these things are happening in different worlds and how the magic systems, while very, very different, are also slightly connected. So if you read all the books, you can then kind of see where you can connect the dots a little bit. He still hasn't revealed everything. Some of the stuff that's been revealed has been stuff he's revealed in the background, like outside of the novels. He's talked about some of the stuff, which I have mixed feelings about. I like mystery. I like to not know. I like to have it revealed organically through the storytelling, and not have someone say, "Oh yeah, this is why this is happening." It's like, no, just tell a story. Give me the story. I'd rather read the book than have you tell what's happening outside of it. I can't really talk about this any more than that without spoiling some stuff. I know there's a short story that takes place in the same setting, same world as this. I don't really know the world itself, but it's broken into various little kingdoms. And the magic systems of this particular section of the Cosmere are very interesting. I really like the way, I really like Sanderson's approach to magic systems. They're very infusion based. It's not like throwing lightning bolts and stuff. It's all very internal, changing, imprinting magic upon yourself or an object. It's really interesting. I really like it, how he does this stuff. Not sure what else I can say. Just that I really should reread this book. I haven't read it since I picked it up, which was only a few years ago. I think When did I read this? About 2016. Yeah, it's been almost 8 years since I read this. I really should pick it up and reread it to refresh my memory. I also should probably go through like whole Cosmere novels. And of course, Sanderson is a lunatic. He wrote 5 books during COVID, during the first year of a COVID lockdown, because that's what he did when he was bored. He wrote 5 novels in a freaking year. And he's written like 1 or 2 more since then, in addition to his other stuff that we know he's writing. I know he's written at least 1 more in secret, in addition to the published works that he's been that we knew about. The man's a writing monster. You could have both admire and hate him for that. But I would recommend this book as a standalone novel. You don't need to, you don't need to read the other books in the Cosmere. All his Cosmere worlds are self-contained. You don't need to read the other ones to understand them. Especially when you start off, like the beginning of Mistborn towards the end tends to be a bit more involved. But I'm not talking about Mistborn. I'm talking about Elantris and the Cosmere. These you wind up, because these books do wind up being connected in some way. You do wind up, maybe when I talk about one book, you wind up bringing the other books into the conversation, especially when, like me, you've read them all. Well, I haven't read the most recent ones. I haven't bought the most recent Mistborn or Ally of Law book. I haven't read the most recent. Never mind. Like I said, you can't talk, when you get into it, you can't talk about one without talking about the rest of them. But anywho, I recommend this book. It's definitely an A in my material. Not necessarily A+, but it's a solid A. And Sanderson is a monster. I'm gonna keep reading all of his books. And I have so many to read. So many books to read, and not enough hours in a day. As always, thanks for watching. As always, if you like my stuff, I have no idea why you would do that. And until next time, good hunting.